So, okay. I mean, we just started, so that's okay. This is our first slide. No panic. Yeah. So we were talking about what is the difference between the phenomenological approach and the scientific approach. And I was just saying it is because we are forming our reality out of our expectations, our belief systems, the underlying traumas we went through. All of this is forming our subjective way of looking at things and thinking about things, perceiving things, which we call reality, and then drawing conclusions. So when you're a lawyer, you know that, or a judge, or an attorney, district attorney or something, you know that when you have many, or say, let's say 3 witnesses for the same accident, and you are interviewing them, you get 3 different stories. Yeah. And they were all there at the same time, at the same place, and you get 3 different stories. And they literally say, no, no, the car came from left. And they are, no, no, from right. And then the other would say, but the car was gray. And they say, no, no, that was black. Literally, you get this information, right? You hardly get any 2 witnesses saying the same thing, right? And so this is something that we live with, and we do this, but we have never really looked at it how this really is on a physical, like on a scientific level, what is actually going on. But then we had people like as I mentioned, Bruce Lipton and others who came out of the shell and has proved that we are actually creating our reality by our expectations. And why do we expect something to happen? Because we believe in it. We are brought up with it. That's what we are used to. We are recreating it over and over and again. This is why true change is really hard. True change, you cannot just make happen from the mind. True change has to happen within your whole body, mind, consciousness. If this is shifting, then your mind will keep up with new ideas and be open to new ideas. And for many, many people, this way is not open. It's just not is. And we have to acknowledge that and just leave them there. And these are also the people that won't come to family constellation. Because as soon as everybody who comes to family constellation is either consciously or unconsciously ready for a shift. Yeah? Otherwise, they wouldn't come. Because it is shifting their lives and the lives of others, loved ones in their family, in one way or the other. And that is very daunting for many people. So that is a little bit of a sidetrack. But so when we have established that we are creating our reality through our experiences, then we know why the so-called scientific approach is lesser true than the phenomenological approach, right? So this is what Bert Hellinger does, and this is all how the orders of love have been discovered and put down into palatable bits that you can actually use to conduct or to facilitate a family constellation in a way that it really allows the clients and the people present to shift. Okay, now we're coming to the order of birth. So we are here at in the second order of love, the order of precedence, which means we are looking at who comes first. And we are now looking at the blood-related family from the family system, right? And I start with the mother. Bert Hellinger would start with the father. I just give that away right away because he was a bit old school, I think. It was, you know, for me, life begins with the mother. And the mother is just, if she's a mother, I'm not talking about women, I'm talking about mothers, right? If it's a mother, then she comes first before the father because she gives life to the children and she's making sure they survive, right? Of course, the father has the same rights and everything. I'm just talking about a specific order of love that we need in constellation to see where imbalances is. Of course, the father can be also come first in cases, that's no doubt about it, but let's start with the mother. I think that's more appropriate to honor the mother first. So, and then there is a father, and they are both even, so they are in a plane, right? They are not like this river of a flow of from generation to generation of love is not between man and woman. They are like a lake situation. There's like a plane, right? So they are equally. We talk about that tomorrow. There's equally giving and taking, right? There is not this one-way stream of love that comes through the generation. Yeah. So it's a bit academic who is first mother or father, but there are some incidences in family constellation where it's really important to find that out. After the mother and father, of course, come the children. So they come last because, of course, without the mother and father, they wouldn't exist. And then they have siblings, and the siblings have also an order. They are not in a lake situation like the husband and wife. They are also in an order, and that goes by birth or by conception, because not every child has been seen the light of day, right? So also the lost children that have passed away are counting to the family system. So we cannot say in birth order, although we say that. But it's not literally that everybody has been born. So the siblings, so who was first conceived and in theory would have been the first one comes first, and then the second, and then the third. And you will see in a family constellation, the first and the last one have significant roles in the family system, and the middle ones less significant roles, right? As an order, and that doesn't mean that they don't have problems and issues and entanglements. It's just that as an order, a specific role is for the first and the last one normally in a family system. And we talk about that.
You say the order of love, or the order of birth, and this is the order of love. Is this who gets the most love, or who we call in first to the constellation?
No. That's not the point. That is how
it's like the family
when you
tree.
start a constellation, you have representatives, and the client puts the representative in a certain way, or you ask the representative to find their own place. And then you look at it, how they have been placed, and then you observe it. That's your main job, is to observe. And when you know about the orders of love, if you know about the order of precedence, then you see where is an unbalance. For example, if the first child who was born is placed outside of the family, or if the last child is placed to the right of the first child, then you see an unbalance. It's just you notice there's an unbalance because you know the orders of love. So now you're just observing, and now you see what is needed, so the souls are moving to their rightful place, because that is where they have a relief. That's where they want to be.
Just had an aha. I get it now. I
Very
totally understand it. Yes, thank you.
Yes. Very
Okay.
good. And then we have the question always, adoptive children. No, they don't belong to this family system. They probably won't go in any kind of order within the siblings. They would be probably outside, or they would not even be called in. However, it can be that there's an entanglement with, or through destiny, or action, an entanglement with an adoptive child. So that's open to this specific constellation. But we are not placing an adopted child into the same row as siblings and half siblings due to their birthday. Yeah, that is a separate role, and then we need to see whether it is of any relevance or not. By the way, just talking about relevance, if you see that a representative in the family constellation has no relevance, you ask them to step out again. So you're not clutting the constellation with representatives that have no impact. So in this case,
do that where you had them reassigned to a different.
You can swap them, if especially and you need to in small groups. You need to reassign them to represent another role, for sure. And sometimes you call them in again if you feel, oh no, we need him. But that's not very likely. But it's more likely you need the space to vacant to assign him to a new role. And that would goes for adoptive children as well. When you see they don't play in this specific family constellation a role, then you would ask them to sit down again. Of course, we talked about missing and lost children. They all belong, including the lost twin, every aborted, miscarried child, every child that has been given away, of course, as stillborn children. They all belong in the order of their, let's say, conception rather than birth, yeah, because they haven't probably not been birthed into life at all. I'm not quite sure if you can extend this word birth to children who hasn't been born. Not sure, but you know what I mean. Okay, so this is the immediate family. Mother, father, and children is the immediate family or the nuclei family, right? They always belong. That's no question about that. And also, when you start with family constellation, that's where you start. You know, you cannot go in a full-fledged family constellation with 3 entanglements down to 7 generations. That's not how you begin. Yeah, you are putting up mother, father. That's more than enough for most clients. And siblings maybe, and then the siblings. Yeah, and that's how you start. That's where you start. You have the oversight. You know about the orders there. You won't miss anything, and that's exactly how you start when you start practicing with friends and family. Okay, then we have the grandparents. Of course, they come before mother and father. We normally call them in later because we normally start, especially when you begin with a nuclei family. But in the order, obviously, they come before mother and father because without them, mother and father wouldn't be there. So when, let's say, the client places grandparents behind their child, which is either the mother or the father, then you know, aha, there is no disorder because that's their place behind them, right? Because they came first. And when then you have great grandparents, which would be the next generation, and they've been placed behind the grandparents, and you know, oh, okay, well, at least the order of precedence is obeyed in this family system, right? Of course, there will be other things, but at least the second order is obeyed. And then ancestors have a little bit a different role. You can place representatives for each generation, up to 7 generations, one after the other behind. And I do that occasionally if I want to test something, if I want to find out where is the curse or the family secret, or where's the specific entanglement, or where's the interrupted movement. You can do that later on when you're more experienced. You can do that. But if you can also, if you're not sure if there's really like this continuous line of entanglements through the generations, choose one representative for the ancestors. Just one. And this representative will immediately resonate with this one ancestor that is needed for the constellation. And there are 2 reasons why this ancestor is needed for the constellation. Either for support, because sometimes the soul movement can only take place when there's support. And there can be an ancestor who comes there for the support. So that's one role that's always behind the one they want to support, right? Or the ancestor comes in because that is the source of the entanglement, right? So there are this kind of 2 options that you have. So it is good to call in one ancestor and see how the ancestor positions itself. And then you can draw your conclusion, what you have to work on and what not. Okay, let's go into the mother. We will spend some time with the mother today. And you have the pictures ready, right, from your mother? Fantastic. So I stop sharing here and let you share your screen. Who wants to start?
Let me pull it. Yep, please start, Kimberly.
Mine's of both of my parents. Is that okay that it's them
Sure.
together? Okay. Sorry, let me just find it. I had it up here. I put all these pictures up because, wait, let's see if this will work. Do you see them or no?
No, that is a calendar we see.
Okay, do you see them now? Or still see the calendar?
No, we see your browser, and there's only the calendar.
I don't know why. Let me see here. I'm gonna just close that. Okay, let me try again.
You can always decide to share just one open
Yeah, I had already
application.
done that astrology stuff because I wanted to share it with you guys later. Let me take this all down and see if that works. Shows it open as a picture. Let's see. Oh, it's not coming up. I don't know why.
I have mine available if you want me to
Yeah, so
start,
then
Kimberly.
I'm not going to be able to, I can show it. I'll just have to show it in the camera. For some reason, it's not
No
letting me show.
problem. Let me do it right now. Let's see, share screen.
Aw.
Is it a little fuzzy? I'm sorry. It's
No,
It
fuzzy.
is. So who's
Little fuzzy.
your mother is in the back?
This is my mother.
Yep.
This is my father.
Mhm.
This was their 50th wedding anniversary last year.
Mhm.
We took them to a restaurant, and my sister and I surprised them with a trip to Hawaii to
Ah,
celebrate their 50th anniversary. Yes.
wonderful.
I can, if it helps, I can pick out a better one, Maya, if you want
If
something
you
a
have
little bit more.
only one from your mother, that would be great, where we see her face
Sure.
better. If you happen to have one.
Absolutely. Can you see all of my pictures, or can you not see any of
No,
that?
we can only see the
Okay.
one.
Hold on one second. Let me do this for you.
Where in Hawaii did you send them?
We didn't go yet. We're going to go this year.
Oh, cool. I'm
Oh.
actually just
Yeah.
I'm putting a retreat together in Kauai
Oh, how fun.
for May. So if you're there, that'd be cool.
Most definitely. Most definitely. Sorry, I didn't want to waste too much time looking for this. Here we go. And there's a specific date. Here we go. Here's one of my mom. Let
Okay,
me
maybe
see.
you have to stop sharing and share again
Yes,
because
let
we
me
don't
do that.
see it.
Let me go back to Zoom, get out of this, stop sharing, share screen. There's my mom.
Ah, here we go. Now we see her. Very good.
Perfect.
Okay, so what's her name?
Her name is Bhupinder.
And tell
Bhupinder
us about
Garg.
her.
Oh, my mom. She's a very complicated woman. She is very neurotic and super loving at the same time. Had a very difficult childhood, had a very dismissive mother. Um, as I've grown up, what I've learned, my role with my mom has been the parentified one. She's very bubbly and all over the place and loves to make friends with everybody, and everyone loves her. Everyone loves her. It's just a very different dynamic of when she shows up as a mother. She's always been this her and I have always been like Tom and Jerry, the cartoon.
Who was a mouse and who was a cat?
Oh my God. I feel like my mom was the cat and I was the mouse. um, Even here in this picture, she so badly needs to have control over everything that she doesn't know how to be present in the moment. And that's really a great example of just my childhood in general. She needed to make everything look good and be good and in control. And I've done enough work to understand and know where all of that comes from. And I have to say, it wasn't until I decided to have a relationship with the idea, not the idea, but the relationship of what it is what has allowed me to shift in my relationship with my mother. It's not about how she can change, it's how I can shift in order for everything else around me to shift with her. So that took me, it took me a good amount of years to understand that. And then it took me a good amount of years to embody it, to show up in that way.
How
So
many
it's one of
siblings
those.
do you have?
I have two siblings. I have one sister who's older than me. She passed away in 2009. And then I have a younger sister who's 6 years younger than me.
How did she pass away?
My older sister had cerebral palsy, so her lifespan in general was
What
not
kind
a
of
very
disease
long.
is that?
It's where you are sort of you're disabled in parts of your body, and sometimes your executive functioning doesn't match your age. So physically, if you saw my sister, she was a little bit disabled on her left side of her body, but you wouldn't have been able to tell unless you were sitting right next to her. But cognitively, if you spoke to her, you can tell. She passed away at the age of 34. She probably had the skill set and the mindset of maybe a 16-year-old.
Okay.
Yeah, so maturity level, understanding, all those things.
So she lives with your mother?
She did live with my parents. She'd always lived with my parents. I think that was more from my parents from a cultural aspect of that's our daughter, we will take care of her. It was always discussed, even, had she outlived my parents, I would be the one,
You're the second.
taking care of her. Yeah, I would be taking care of her. So even though she was the eldest, I was considered the eldest because
Yeah,
of her condition.
that's
So
interesting.
yeah. And also I was the second child. And so I think both of my parents had the expectation that I was going to be a boy. And I clearly was not a boy when I was born. Yeah, so her and I have a very hot, cold relationship.
Okay.
I don't go to her for any nurturing. I don't go to her for any type of safety. I've learned how to create that for myself and understand it through trial and error. It's always about her and how it's going to affect her and her life and how it's going to affect the image of the family.
Yeah.
So it's yeah, we've a lot of hot, even right now, she's like a little bit talking to me. She is quite a bit of not only a codependent personality, but she's very OCD. So she tends to hoard things. And it's come to a point where it's become very difficult in the sense of, I understand why she's doing it, but at the same time, I'm still her daughter. So I still have that, why can't you just do this differently?
Very good. So
yeah.
you would describe your current relationship to your mother as hot and cold. That would
Hot and cold.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much for bringing her into our group and having her here to support your journey, which is important, even though she doesn't know it. That doesn't matter. Her soul would know. Okay, are you ready, Kimberly?
I'm gonna try. Let's see here. For some reason, it doesn't show when I try to
But do
do
you have
this.
the photo on your desktop? That's first.
I do. I have it, and it's opened up on my desktop.
And
so
then you go to share, and then all things you have on your desktop should come up as a window.
It's not showing it for some reason, and it did this at my class the other day. For some reason, it's not showing it. I do have the actual physical picture. And
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Oh, yes. Okay. Very good.
I'll light
Yeah.
let me do this a little bit. I think she comes in a little
She's
bit
as
more.
blonde as you are.
Neither of us natural. Neither of us naturally blonde. But this is my mom. Her name was Carolyn Francis. Roberts was her maiden name, and she became Carolyn Francis Beekman. She was born in October 2nd, 1945. But October 2nd, she has the same birthday as the Dalai Lama. And She passed away August 16th, 1996.
All right, that was young.
Yeah, she was 50. She was very young, and I held her hand. I was holding her hand. Sorry if you can't see my face. I don't want to be impersonal.
Yeah, it's okay. We have seen her. Thank you. Yeah. So she passed away. And how old have you been?
I was 17, and
17.
it was. I don't have my Kleenex. It was 2 weeks before my senior year of high school that started. And yeah, but you know what? I had quite a different relationship with her than you did with your mom, or you do with your mom, Suman. We were very close, and she was the most loving, caring person in my whole life, and I loved her so much. And it's weird because I lost her at 17, and now I'm 44, and so there's a lot of time between that, you know, and I was a girl. And now I'm a woman and a mom myself. And feels like I don't know her anymore. You know, it just feels like I'm disconnected from her. Even though I know I'm not, I feel her around and stuff, but I feel like I didn't get to know her as a woman.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, that's all good. Yeah, very good. So how would you describe your relationship to her right now in this moment? Not the memory of her, to her now.
I guess distant or disconnected. Yeah. And I just wanted to say too that so I lost my brother in 1991. He was 20 years old and he committed suicide. And that literally killed my mom.
She
She
died of?
colon cancer that spread to her liver. She just sort of, you know, like just from the inside out, she just sort of gave up. And she was on a search. She became on this spiritual search after he died. She was determined to find him. Like she wanted to go find his soul. And I get it as a mom. Like I would go, like, take me with you. You just,
Was it a younger, but no, hang on, he was an older brother. He was the firstborn.
He was the middle child.
Ah, so you have an older sibling?
I have another older sibling, yes.
Who is a boy or girl?
It's a boy. His name is Bobby.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So he was the middle one.
Yeah, he was the middle one. And so everybody, we just all feel like she went because of him. Like she couldn't, that she just couldn't handle it. It literally killed her.
Yeah, there is quite some family dynamics in there that we definitely going to look at.
I'm sure. Got more where that came from. Yeah.
Very good. Very good. Thank you very much for sharing her and bringing her into our group as well. So she will be with us and support us. And I'm absolutely sure she's very present and eager. That you mentioned she is on the soul search. That wouldn't have stopped. And she might be unconsciously the one who sent you to the course. Who knows?
Yeah, could be.
Yeah.
Really
Or one of them.
I just wanted to share, I've seen a lot of mediums, like I've gone to a lot that didn't know what they were doing and quite a few that did. And they mentioned to me that, kind of like you said, she is sort of lost. Like she is on this, like she's not with my brother, she's not with my dad. She's, kind of lost. So that would be interesting, to be able to help her. That's cool. Awesome. Yeah.
Very good. So we will continue with the mother, of course. So there's a saying from Bert Hellinger that I would like you to memorize. Success has mother's face. That meaning that there's only a way to be truly successful in your life, whatever you want to achieve, if you have fully accepted and embraced your mother. If there is any kind of disturbance, resentment, disorder, in the second order of love, or interrupted movement towards the mother, success in a way that is possible to you is not possible, right? You might not suffer. That's fine. That's not what I'm saying. Some people are just living life and seem to be content, but they could be a lot more than that if they would have completely embraced the mother in a way that the orders of love teach us. So this is why when a client comes, and of course that happens a lot, with the desire to be more successful, either in the professional life or in a relationship, then I normally don't put there the profession or the relationship. I ask them to choose a representative for the mother. Because we are going straight to the core, to the source of this issue. The bond to the mother is, of course, very unique, right? That's the only bond you ever will have with every other human being or an animal where you have physically been tied together, right? And where you have been, your body tissues have literally been made from the mother's tissues and the mother's nourishment, and everything came from the mother. So this is why the bond to the mother is very unique, a one-off. We only have that once in our life, and this is why it's so strong in both ways, you know. As you said, hot and cold, or you might dismiss your mother, or you might be depending on your mother. In any way, it's a strong bond. The bond is there, and we will go through the birthing process and everything else in the course of this training, and we'll find out what is going on there and how we can apply healing if there's something missing. What is also to be taken into consideration when we talk about the relationship to our mother is, of course, the mind, so the expectations. Because in fact, these expectations that we are forming towards our mother are disturbing the flow of love, the first order. The expectation, what our mother should or should not do, is like the rock in the river. The love can only flow without these expectations. And this is the bread and butter of a family consolator, facilitator. Because this is most times the problem. And you will work with your mother and with mothers of your clients or friends and family when you start to apply all of this all the time. And not once, not twice, not 3 times, over and over again, right? Just be aware of that. And every step will be necessary. That's very, very rare that one constellation with the mother is fixing it all. Can happen, but it's not to be expected. Most often you see it multiple times until, like an onion layer, right? One layer and then the next of expectations is peeling off until there's nothing left. And when there's no expectations, the love can flow fully. Then, of course, there are specific relationship issues between mother and daughter. Most often it is that the mother is expecting the daughter to be like her, right? So that's an expectations from the mother towards the daughter. Or the daughter is expecting the mother to be a specific kind of woman. So that is also something to be considered. So when a client starts to talk at the beginning of a session, and you are listening and observing the client, and they are talking about what the mother has done or not done, often what she not has done, most often what is then you know the expectations are high towards the mother, which also is a violation of the second order because the child puts itself over the mother. Yeah, because remember, the mother comes first and then the child. So the child has to accept everything from the mother as it is. Yeah, there cannot be any different expectations other than the child said, I know it better than you. And when a child says, and I call that on Berthollinger as well, an arrogant child, and you see that in the constellation immediately at the facial expression and the bodily expressions and the position that the representative of this child places itself towards the mother, if it's an arrogant child or not. And then the love cannot flow from the mother. Not because the mother cannot give it, it's because the child cannot receive it. And then we have the relationship mother-son, mostly reported as being much smoother. I don't know. I have a son. I had a daughter. What do you say?
2 sons. I'm so like,
Yeah, me too. I have only a son. Yeah.
I know. Phew.
So, I mean, I wanted a daughter, but it was a son, which I'm very happy about.
I did too, and I'm so glad. I'm just so grateful for just my boys. So easy.
So yeah. This is because normally the expectations neither from the mother to the son nor from the son to the mother are anywhere like in the same-sex relationship, as in the same-sex relationship. And this is why it's easier, smoother, and the love can flow better. The letting go from the mother is the biggie. And by nature, we are set up for this through our birthing, natural giving birth. Because this is training both mother and child to let go of each other. That's the first letting go. And that's a very important lesson. And it's a shame that nowadays there are so many C-sections that you take away this very important first success of both mother and child to let go of each other in the natural birthing process, which is designed to do that.
Astrologically too, you're taking away that child's will instantly when they would naturally choose to be born.
Yeah, totally. So this is like a biggie problem, and I hope that the world is coming to their senses again and taking all the powers out of the medical professions and seeing what damage has been done and referring back to the way nature wants us to live, because we're set up for it until we are not half AIs, of course. So the letting go is something that we will go over and over again as well. It has also to do with interrupted movements, with birth traumas and all of this, which is all coming. So let's assume there's a natural birth taking place, as painful it might be for both mother and child, because the child is highly traumatized through this birthing as well, right? Because of course the child thinks it's dying when the walls come close and there's no space anymore and they can barely breathe, and maybe the umbilical cord is around the neck and all of these things, just think of it. I mean, that's traumatic, of course, and then going through into the unknown. This is
I had 2 traumatic birth experiences with both of my sons, and I think there could just be a whole constellation just around, like, a whole business just around traumatic births.
Yeah,
like
it is.
new mothers. Like it's such a
It is a very big one, and we will also focus on that because it is a big one.
huge.
It's huge. So we have the interrupted movement towards the mother. It's called in German unterbrochene Hinbewegung. It's not as such a mouthful as the English translation. There are even more mouthful versions of it, like the interrupted letting go movement. No, the interrupted. Gosh, now it doesn't come to me. You will find terms that are kind of assembling the same and having the same meaning. This is all translated from German, and this is also biggie. We will talk about that in module 4, just that you will hear this over and over again. This is also bread and butter, and this is and this happens to all of us multiple times. And it is as the strongest if this happens with the mother, because the bond is so unique, and our need as a child towards the mother, as a young child, as a baby, even as an unborn baby, is so high, yeah, that everything that happens until we can literally stand on our own feet and fight for our own food is very vulnerable. It's very vulnerable. And I always think about the indigenous folks who are giving, like, you know, where everything is so natural. They give birth, they carry the child for years around with them, working this. All these doesn't happen. There is no trauma. Yeah, nothing. But for us, this is of course a completely different experience in this modern time. So, what is mother's love and what is children's love? I would like you to experience it now in our exercise. So, our exercise will be that I put you in a breakout room, and you have 5 minutes each, and you will represent each other's mother. So the first term is like, say, Suman is representing herself, and Kimberly would be the mother. And you would not talk. That's paramount. There's no talking. We talk after. You spend this 5 minutes looking in each other's eyes. Yeah? And just make clear, you know, your role, and you're observing yourself. You're observing what you feel. You let everything come up, what comes up, absolutely everything, yeah, without words though, yeah, you're not holding anything back. And then you will observe what you feel and after share it. You're not observing the others, you're observing your own resonating, yeah, with the child or with the mother, yeah. And then I sent you in the chat room, I sent you a message after 5 minutes to swap, and then you just leave it there, take a breather, say a couple of words not about the constellation, and then, or the exercise, and then you swap roles, and then you start again 5 minutes.
So we're not taking any notes or anything. We're just gonna remember what we're doing.
I think it's best, yeah. You mind? Yeah, no, don't take notes. Just you will remember.
Maya, did you make me say father? Because I didn't put that in there.
No, I didn't.
That is really weird. I don't know where that came from. So let me.
You came through. And I was wondering whether you might have represented in the workshop a father.
Oh, maybe, okay, from last time. Because I was like, am I thinking, am I going to be a father?
I know, it was weird, eh? But weird. I have to say, yesterday you were Kimberly. With the moon and
I did the same thing, so I don't understand. That's so weird. It was the same
I know.
week.
I was very aware of that.
Okay, so I'm going to be your mother first, right? I'm going to be the mother first for Suman.
Sure.
Okay, so you're ready?
Yes.
Okay. Right, where's Suman? Did we lose her?
Where'd she go? That was intense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I hope she comes back on. Where'd she go?
No, she's gone. Maybe she has to come sign up again. Sign in again. Ah, here she comes.
Sorry, I clicked the wrong button.
I was assuming that happened. Okay, we give Kimberly a minute to recover. So, would you like to start sharing, Suman?
Yeah. Just as this was done in silence, I feel like I have no words. Immediately, I just wanted to like pour down with tears as soon as
Mother or who?
as daughter.
Daughter.
As daughter. There was just such this connection of me already going into immediate judgment and feeling this immense amount of like anger. And then it was amazing. Usually when I'm in breakout rooms, I'm like looking at like how much time has gone by. And I felt so connected to Kimberly in a way where in the beginning, I didn't really want to go there because I didn't want to move into that space. And then it just started to ebb and flow into release. And this is what it is. Laugh at it a little bit. But I still want this from her. But this is who she is. And just this
Your mind was quite active.
Very active and very palpable. Would you like me to shift in my time as mother? Or
yeah,
would you
whatever.
like to? Yeah. Oh, my immediate going into it, the immediate switch was wanting to just embrace Kimberly. And I just wanted to give her the biggest hug, and I wanted to cup her face and just like be in the presence of me and just almost like shower her with like, the best way I can describe it is like shower her with like the stars from the sky and just wrap her around it. And it was a subtle ebb and flow of sorrow and happiness at the same time. That was my experience as mother.
Beautiful. So how have you ever experienced anything like before?
For myself, the healing work I've done, yes, not to this intensity, for it to be a shared experience. That was brand new.
Good.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Okay, Kimberly, your turn.
So as mother, I wanted to cup your hands too. I mean, your face too with my hands. I wanted to reach through the screen and just grab your face. And I just kept hearing, my darling, I love you, my darling, I love you, my darling. I just wanted to say, I love you, my darling. I feel more words, that come to me. And I wanted to say, is it okay, Maya? Can I express the words that came?
Yeah, now you can, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to say I love you, my darling, and you're everything that I'm not able to be. That I don't have the freedom you have, and I'm taking your freedom. I see I'm taking freedom from you, and I give it to you. I restore it back to you. It was love. It was very loving. It was very loving, and it was very, if anything, a little envious that you have what I don't. And I see that what you have that I don't have, I'm holding you back from it.
Very good. Thank you for sharing. Beautiful.
Yeah.
So both of you have experienced the mother from the soul level and all this love, because you will see in the love in the course of this training and also in the family constellation workshops that is the natural ability of mothers. And that's all that we work with. That's what we work with. We're working with this, and it's great that you both have experienced this in the role as a mother. That's what mother love is. Nothing else. It's exactly that. This pouring of love and non-judgmental, and this is mother's love, right? Everything else is story. Stories. mainly created in the child, right? So that's important to understand and experience, to see that happening in others in when they're representing. If somebody is representing a mother and not expressing that, then you know that this mother, that's the source of the problem. As long as the mother is able, the representative of the mother is able to express this flow of love unconditionally, you know there is not the problem. Yeah.
Is there a difference between having an opportunity where Kimberly and I shared our experiences with our mother first and then move into this, or can you just move right into this space?
Did you move right into this space or not?
I did.
Oh, that's the answer. Everybody does.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. I guess when you were saying what the child makes up, so in my mind is the narrative that they make up in their mind, I was curious whether the narrative that Kimberly shared stayed with me and then allowed me to move into it. But you're saying, regardless of that, you can move into it.
You do. You always
Yeah.
do.
Suman, are you feeling like it's not finished? Like you want to, now that you have that information, like you need to go more with it? Is that what you're saying?
No, I think what I was feeling was curious when you and maybe this is me sort of shifting into opportunities where I know it's difficult for some of my clients to move into this space. But
Because
I
they are not,
also,
because look, that's a good point. Now I got you, Suman.
yeah,
You're coming from your work. And this is why Bert Hellinger said
yes.
this is not a therapy, has nothing to do with psychotherapy. Do not even compare it. Yeah? Because when you work, neither you nor your client is connected to the morphogenetic field of the family system. So none of this, what is happening here, can happen there until you deliberately and intentionally create the space, which you do after the training.
Makes sense.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I
that's why
understand your urge to compare that because your work seems to be so close to what we're doing, but just yeah, if possible, I know that's hard.
no, this was
Start
helpful.
completely new, as if you would
Yeah,
know nothing. That would be the best approach. Yeah. Mhm.
absolutely. Yeah. I was just curious to see what you would say with that, which you answered my question. So thank you.
Very good. And it's really amazing, and it's lovely to have you on the course, because it's amazing to see everything I have heard, because we don't have many psychotherapists on the course.
Mhm.
I think you're the first one, actually, in fact,
Oh,
in family constellation virtual training, because, as I said, they don't want to touch it.
mhm.
Yeah, because it's too simple, it's too deep, too
Mhm.
fast. It's like, why would you, if you have a client coming for 3 years, like every 2 weeks for a session, why would you heal them in one session? You know?
Might be out of work. Not really. Not really, but yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there's
It's a
such
little
a
bit like,
shift in happening of this understanding where I think people's idea of evidence-based therapy, you come in for 8 sessions and then you're done, versus analytics, psychoanalysis where it's years and years, and I believe there's this beautiful in between of just allowing this to unfold, which again is shifting the way I even look at how I practice. So yeah, yeah.
wonderful. Yeah, there will be big shift, I'm sure.
Mm,
And your life will not be the same, and it will be better after.
yeah,
Your professional as well, not only your personal. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
Mm.
Mhm.
Good. Kimberly, so now share you as a daughter. How was that?
So as a daughter, I had a hard time connecting at first. Like it was really hard for me, and I had a lot of anxiety inside, like a lot of anxiousness about connecting.
Mm-hmm.
And then it happened. We connected, and um, I remembered some things that happened right after my mom died and that I could kind of forgot. After she died, some, supernatural things happened. Like I heard her voice and it echo, just like supernatural things happened. And it, I got the message that, I didn't leave you until I knew you were okay. Like I was with you until I knew you were going to be okay. And then I went. And it shifted something in me about her just leaving me. It helped me to realize, that and to be able to reconnect with her again, that I don't know, at some level, she's never really left me, but she's still available to me. I just, maybe not as often as I'm used to.
Yeah.
Mm.
Very good.
I feel like Kimberly, I felt that disconnection.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it was for you, but the minute I felt like I started crying, I was like, oh, okay, that's where it is. I feel
Yeah.
like that's when we connected
Yeah.
in my experience.
That's what I felt too. Like it wasn't easy at first, and then all
Yeah.
this happened, and then I also started to feel a disconnect towards the end, and then I like try to reconnect again. So it was interesting. It was really interesting to feel that on and off sort of connection.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. Right. Okay. Thank you for sharing. We move on to the father. Oh. Okay. Hang on. Okay. Now we are looking at the father. So, of course, we want to see your father. So, who wants to start? I have to stop sharing again. Who wants to start?
I can show my picture.
Yep.
Here's my picture
Okay.
of my dad.
Oh, he's very young there, isn't he?
Well, he was in his 40s. Both
Is
of them
he?
were in their 40s there. Yeah, he was probably about 45, 46 there. This was in I would say 86-ish, 1986-ish.
Ah, okay.
Anyway, that's my dad. His name was Bob, and he later in life went by Roberto. And my dad is my biggest hero. Squishy again, I'm sorry. He So, and this is where when we talk about, we always have like guilt or innocence. So I was always, I loved both of my parents dearly growing up. I was very close with both of them, but I was super close with my mom, like me and my mom. And after my mom died, my dad and I just, we locked, like we just didn't get along. And I moved away and did my own thing and all this stuff. And then in my late 20s, we started talking on the phone a lot and became really close. And he accepted me and he actually started to, become more of this spiritual being versus, this rigid man that he could be sometimes. And so my dad was terminally ill. He had hepatitis C and cirrhosis and lupus and Crohn's disease and colitis. Like he was very sick for a long time. And in fact, after my mom died, he was given 2 years to live. And he ended up doing alternative therapies and lived 12 years. And he, to me, he's a warrior. He did that so that I wasn't orphaned, so that I still had a parent on the planet. He lived. And he was one of the best human beings I know. He would call up the soup kitchen or the homeless shelter and say, "What do you need?" And he would hire trucks to go clean out sporting goods stores and buy all the sleeping bags and tents he could and donate it to, these people that needed it. He just, you would call him and I'd be like, "Hey, Dad, what's going on?" And he'd be really sick in bed for days. And he'd say, I'm on the bench, but I'm still in the game, but how are you doing? He was my motivator. He was just a good human being and a really positive person. I mean, he wasn't always like that. He had a darker past, but he healed himself and came around and just so I felt really close with him. And when he died, it rocked my world. And I ended up in grief counseling again. And my grief counselor explained to me that, when I lost my mom and my brother, I lost them as a child. And now that I was losing my father as an adult, I had to reprocess the loss of my brother and mom as an adult. And so I was like going through a triple whammy with that. And so it was really, that was harder for me than losing my mom or my brother, was losing my dad. And so that also made me feel a little bit disconnected from my mom because I felt more of a loss with my dad, if that makes sense.
Yeah. How would you describe your relationship now in this moment with your dad?
Really good. Like I feel him all around. My son was born on his birthday. Like I just have I feel like I'm really still connected with him.
Very good.
Yeah.
Does your son look like him?
No. My husband's half Chinese, so my kids don't even look like me. They look like
They,
yeah. Mhm.
yeah. Okay, thank you for sharing. And Suman.
Suman, you're muted.
Aha.
Here we go. Sorry. Thank you. So the same party or dinner that we took my parents. This is my dad. He's just like he's everything. He's like the provider, the giver, when I had my first breakup, I went to my dad, not my mom. He's just such a interesting human being. He did not know his mom. He was raised by his uncle and his grandmother. His father left them when they were very young. He's lived in India, Nairobi, Scotland, England, self-made man, came to America in like the 60s, or sorry, late 60s, was an auto mechanic, learned self-taught auto mechanic all across when he was traveling. He's the only individual in my dad's side of the family that's not educated. So neither one of my parents finished high school even. It's the typical $2 in your pocket, and worked as a mechanic, opened up his own auto mechanic shop, and still to this day is 82, goes to work 6 days a week, 8 to 5 to 6 p.m. Like he's probably at work right now.
Wow.
He's just a provider. He very turbulent, much more angry of an individual when he was younger. Age, my sister's death, us growing up, having 3 daughters, I think shifted him and shaped him in so many ways. But he just gives and gives and gives and gives. He's a wonderful human being.
Mhm. That's interesting because he didn't know his mother. That's a really interesting
Yeah.
dynamic. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very interesting dynamic. It's
Mm.
and he doesn't, he doesn't really talk about it much. He's a very quiet man.
Mm.
Very to himself, very quiet. I know he depends on me a lot, and I depend on him a lot. Him and I have very rational, very like civil, emotional, contextual conversations.
Mhm.
He's like the foundation of it all. So yeah.
Very good.
Dad.
Thank you. How would you describe your relationship with him today?
With my father?
Mhm.
Oh, I'm sorry. It froze for a second. Solid.
Okay. Nice word.
Solid.
Mhm. Very good. Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing and bringing your fathers into our group. So we have their support, which is all paramount for what we are doing here and in our future. So, remember what I told you. Bert Hellinger would have put the father first and introduced the father first because he says father comes first. It's just like no exemption. And that's probably the only thing tiny bit would I tiny bit disagree, because my experience is not exactly like that. But I'm a single mom, of course. I have a completely different life to him, right? He has no children. Interestingly, eh? He has no children.
Ah, that is interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So he said father comes first, which is a bit old school thinking, but what he's right with, and it always has been and always will be, that the father's energy is different to the mother's energy, where the mother's energy that you have felt for yourself is pouring out unconditional love, which is nourishment. The father secures the system. He stands for safety and security. And if the father is doing that, like when Sumin was talking, I had the feeling that he did that for sure for his family, then he would certainly be on the right side of his wife. Yeah. Right. So we put everyone who comes first to the right side and who comes after to the left. That doesn't mean that they are in a relationship like this. They are still in a relationship like this, face to face, but just in the second order of love, in a constellation, only in a family constellation, you put the father would be on the right of the mother if this is appropriately reflecting the function in the family that the father is embodying, and then you would see that there is no disturbance in the order. Yeah. However, if the mother stands on the right side of the father, that can also be right. If she is securing the family. Yeah. There's the other saying from Bert Hellinger, and I would like you to memorize that as well. Addictions have father's face. Where the father is missing, there is most likely, or let's say very often, a case of addiction in the family.
That's when father is missing?
When father is dismissed from the child. Dismissed. Yeah. So when you have a case of, I'm not saying, as always, there are exceptions to the rules, but this is a rule. So when there's somebody coming, we were quite successful. We are quite successful, by the way, in family constellation with helping clients to quit smoking.
Wow.
Yeah. I would say in 8 out of 10 cases that is done with. And you know how many people struggling quitting smoking? This is most often a case between the child and the father. Yeah. And of course, what came before the father, and possible entanglements or interrupted movements there, because you can also have an interrupted movement towards your father. It's just not so severe. What I have, because the bond is not that great with the father as with the mother, and therefore the need to be present is not as much to the father as to the mother. However, there are definitely possibilities, and I've seen this often, that there's an interrupted movement towards the father as well. That's possible. But most cases I have observed where the father-child dynamic is distorted is because the father wasn't present. Like either the father was unknown, or the father went away, or the mother went away in early days, right? Or the father was always working and maybe not just visiting occasionally, or scenarios like this.
Could they be physically but emotionally not
It's
available?
always emotionally. If he's emotionally present but physically not, that wouldn't hurt.
Mhm.
Right? We are like, this
Always
is also, yeah, this is also different to the mother, where her physical presence needs to be there for providing nourishment. Not so much the father, it's more the emotional availability.
So
So
mother
in
needs to be more physical, father more emotional.
more emotional. When of course mother can also be emotional absent and physical there, and then it would also maybe become an interrupted movement. That's absolutely possible. So most cases are that the father is where this interrupted movement is not so much that let's say the mother got pregnant, they are not married, she didn't want this man, so she decided to raise the child alone and didn't want the father to interfere in any way, shape, or form. But the father was ready and is pouring out his love to his child on an emotional level. So it's not neglecting or dismissing it, but he just can't get to it. Might doesn't know where they live or something. You might see that there's not actually an interrupted movement towards the father, right? Because the love does flow on an emotional level. However, if a father is physically there, but let's say they have a secret second family or whatnot, emotionally not available and just physically there and comes home every night, but is not there for the children at all, is not providing this safety and security, or not fulfilling this desire in the child for feeling that, then there could be might as well an interrupted movement towards the father. Yeah. The father-son relationship is quite similar to mother-daughter. Expectations are higher, especially from the father towards the sons, to step in their feet, to make it better than they have done. Often has to do with professions, of course, and make a living and money and all these things. Yeah. So that is very, very likely that you find that in the relationship between father and son. And then, of course, the father-daughter relationship is kind of a classic. Yeah? has one very specific dynamic that often comes up in a family constellation, that the daughter takes over the role of the mother. Yeah. And that has several reasons, and we will deal with it in family constellations also quite often. Here, you also have kind of an arrogant child, if you will, yeah. But the arrogant child is not saying to the mother, I know. Well, it does actually say to the mother, I know it better than you, but it says it's more specific. As he said to the mother, I am a better wife to my father than you. Yeah.
That's so interesting, because I had to do that after I didn't have to, but I did after my mom died. And even when she was sick, like I stepped into her role of doing what she would have done.
And this is a breach of the second order of love. Yeah. And this will bring imbalance to the family and to the descendants if this is not cleared.
I have so many constellations I need to do.
We all do. That's fine. And you will have so many opportunities to do it. And you will also see, Kimberly, and let's talk about that a little bit. And I just share my own experience. I studied for 4 years with Bert and Sophie Hellinger. I went to absolute every 4 days retreat in whole Europe. They were traveling to. I cannot even tell you how many hundreds of hours I was in the constellation with them. I had 3 constellations in total for myself. And I may have represented 5 times in total, right? But it shifted my life completely, because you are in the field. You don't need to constellate. You don't even need to represent. You are resonating with everything you see. Everything is as if it is for you. You are never just sitting back and watching Netflix. You are always a part of where you are. And this is, you're shedding so many weight just by being in the field and working in this field, no matter in which role, even as an observer. Yeah. So don't think you need to work one day. I thought so too, but then I hadn't had the chance, because there were too many people, and it happens anyhow. It happens anyhow. right?
Yeah.
So that's another kind of expectation that we need to drop and be absolutely 100% sure that the morphogenetic field of your family system is providing you everything that you need if your intention stays truthful to walking the path and doing
Mhm.
what's needed.
Mhm.
Yeah. And just always trust the field. Always trust it. It's always guiding you. It's always guiding you. Otherwise you wouldn't be here, and otherwise it's just that yeah.
Can you tap into other fields? Like, can you, I was just curious about, like, have you played with that? Have you played with the field at all?
What do you mean by play?
Well, I don't know. You were talking about I don't know if it's apes or gorillas that were
Yeah.
using the tool,
Yeah.
in different places.
Yeah.
And so that was their field, right? That was their own field that they were
Their own
tapped in.
morphogenetic field, yeah.
And it just got me thinking about, so we're tapping into the family constellations field. I just don't know. I mean, there's obviously other fields in that you can tap into of different.
No, there's just
They're
one field. There's just this
right.
one field. Yeah, there's this one field, and you will experience it, and that's exactly where you will be connecting with the family members, and you will always resonate in every constellation, every exercise, everything you do where you are actually connecting to the morphogenetic field. You will resonate with something that you intentionally or unintentionally that needs this kind of energy, experience, and release as
That's
well.
what I was questioning, is if we can intentionally do it. Can we intentionally tap
We do it
in?
intentionally, yes. We do it intentionally. We go to a constellation, we do a workshop, we do it intentionally, yeah.
Well, intentionally
If we would do it
tap
unintentionally, we would be in the realm of intuition, like intuitive.
I see.
And we are not doing this. Because this
Okay.
has several problems, like a lot of problems with it, and we are definitely drawing the line here.
Mhm.
Mm.
We are intentionally stepping into the morphogenetic field with a specific family system, which is either yours or somebody else's.
Mhm.
Mm.
Yeah. And then the healing will be available for you. Okay, very good. So that is probably, I know there's more coming. So the expectations is the same as with the mother. They are in the way to perceive our father. Now you both had wonderful fathers, and the expectations have been met. So you don't have kind of, or this kind of problems. But of course, not every relationship is like this. And of course, this can cause also a disorder or a disturbance in the orders of in the second order of love, the order of precedence. The letting go from the father is on one hand not as difficult because the bond wasn't that deep, yeah. On the other hand, there is not a specific way or time when you can actually train it, like going through the birth canal. So the bond is not as big, but there's also no way to train it or to decide when do I actually let go from my father. This can cause also problems and an imbalance because maybe this makes it difficult to really let go of the father. Yeah. And then, for example, you would grieve like Kimberly shared. You would grieve heavier than with even your mother, which you love dearly, or your brother, because you haven't trained to let go of it. Yeah. So a good training is, and I give you a couple of exercises regarding the father. Oh, we have to have a break. Actually, I forgot that. I give you a couple of exercises with the. We'll probably finish the father off until tomorrow when we meet again. That you do that for yourself. Yeah. That you train for yourself this letting go. I give you a little example also from my personal experience. I also had a good relationship with my father and found him very loving and supportive, and find myself more or less depending on him, like on an emotional level, and it was like divine intention. And I say grace, yeah, grace. I had a dream. I was in my end 20s, I think, or mid to end 20s, and I had a vivid dream where she died. A vivid dream, like it was happening, yeah. And that was probably 20 years, 25 years before he actually died. So he was dying in this vivid dream, and I went through all the process, and it was so beautiful, being there with him. He died, he passed away, we were good with each other. It was this letting, it didn't know that by that time, but it was practicing letting go of him. And then when he passed away, 25 years or 30 years later, it was actually a beautiful experience for me. And I had absolutely no problems with that. And I had a 30 years in between where I felt free as well. So for me, that was like my own experience where I know, you do need, with your parents, you need to have a chance to let go before they actually go. And this is really important. I would like you, as a form of exercise, both of you, doesn't matter if he has passed or not, to exercise that in a kind of a meditative state, to let go of your father in this way. That you are, it's almost like birthing or something, like really embracing that what you have been received, who you are, right? And seeing him as an individual soul on his own soul journey, and really agreeing to this way. Yeah? Okay? And then also in the same way, or maybe the same meditation, or you do two meditations out of it, I would like you to experience Father's love and child's love in the same exercise you did together, just with yourself. So you're stepping in, you're connecting with your own emotions towards your father. It's probably better to do that before you do the letting go exercise. So you do the same one. You are representing yourself, and you see visually in front of your eyes your father. You can look at the photo or just close your eyes, and then just do this 5 minutes looking in his eyes exercise, and let everything come up, whatever wants to come up, and then you actually swap. And then you step in the shoes of your father, you connect to the morphogenetic field, you're stepping into the shoes of your father, you're representing your father, and then you feel his love for you. Yeah? Okay? Very good. Okay, we have a break now. It's 1:45 here, so we have 10 minutes. I see you 5:02. Yeah? Okay. So now we talk about children and the orders, the second order of love, the order of precedence, where children belong. So we say birth order, which means also the unborn babies are part of the order. It is a sibling in the order who was there first, or who should have been there first, and then down to the last one. Half siblings count as well, as we always say, and they also count in their when they've been born, right? So they fit into the row. They're not special to the normal siblings. They just, if you see in a family constellation, you put up the orders, this order of precedence in siblings, in a row of siblings, and they would just fit in there wherever they are born into it. And then, of course, miscarriages, that they count as much as abortion. And we talked about adoptions before. They don't count. Yeah, just memorize that. It's not that you make them kind of not count. You will see that they don't count. So the representative of the adopted child will not have the urge to go in the row with the siblings. You see, it's not when we talk about family constellation and what we see. I'm not saying that as a facilitator you go and put them there. That's not how it works, right? That is more role play or family sculpturing. We allowing the souls to move into their position, and when they are not moving in the order that we know of, then we know that there is something we have to work on. Yeah. And then we apply that, what you learn in this training, we apply that what heals, and then the result of our work will be that the souls change and that they move, the representatives move, and they change positions, and they will end up in the right order. And this is how you see that you have found, or you nail, you know, how you say in English, you found the nail, the head of the nail. That's probably German saying. So you hit the nail on the head. That's what I want. Yeah. So you it is, you are not, nothing change. So let's make an example to make that totally clear. If you have 3 children, you have and an abortion, which was the second one, yeah, and the children would be scattered in the room, like, you know, the representatives of children would be scattered in the room. Nothing's going to happen just because you ask the oldest to come to the right, and then the aborted child, and then this and that. Nothing. There's no healing in that. Nothing. That is the difference to role play or
It has to be
family
organic,
function. Yeah,
right?
their souls have to move themselves
Mhm.
because you applied healing somewhere completely different. Has nothing to
Mhm.
do with the children. Now you find that what needs healing, and then the children will move, and then everybody is happy, and then you know, hit the nail on the head. Hmm? That's why we learn the orders, not because we make them go there. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about a specific. I mentioned that before, the first and the last one. They have a specific role. And they are quite, actually, they remind you of quite traditional ways of living, and they are very, very true on a soul level. They don't come from nowhere. It is just because it is so. I don't know how it is in your young history in America, but in our old history in Germany, it is so, has been since, I don't know, 1950s or something, that the law, the inheritance law, was that the oldest child inherited everything. Yeah. And then the younger children, they were entitled to some, I don't even know what, not much. Yeah.
Mhm.
That has changed. Nowadays it's all you have to split it all up. But that was a traditional securing of the living, because traditionally there was only one land. There was one, they lived from the land, they ate from the land. You couldn't split the land or the business or whatever it is, yeah. And one had to continue to do that and provide for that family, yeah. And so because it was not able to split it, that just went naturally to the oldest, because the oldest also had in return more duty, because the duty of the oldest is to also care for the parents and look after them when they need help, and and therefore it was like a trade-off, and it's actually on a soul level. So it's nothing that is actually what you also see in family constellation, that's a natural movement, yeah, to do that, because it is of course no coincidence that somebody is the oldest, born as the oldest. That's not a coincidence. That's a specific soul journey that the soul wants to go on, to take over these responsibilities and not to be free. However, the last one, the youngest, is always free to do whatever they want to do. They might don't get the inheritance, but they also don't get any duties. They can totally live their own life.
Maya, because you said about our country, like how it's different, and with my, you know, my generation anyway, it's the youngest. Like it's not, I don't think it's the oldest anymore. Not here. I think it's the youngest, because they're the youngest and most capable that's taking care of the family.
Okay, so on a soul level and in a family constellation, that is a distortion of the second order, and the descendants will suffer in one way or the other from that,
Yeah.
and the souls don't take that lightly, any disturbance of the orders of love.
Mhm.
So I make an example, and that is probably the trickiest part when you start on this journey of training in family constellation and understanding everything, to understand that some of that what you learn is wonderful content to change your own life, and that you can apply in your own life situation, wonderful. And then there's other content that is not meant to be applied to your life situation or somebody else. It's purely family constellation. It doesn't go beyond family constellation, right? You don't apply that in life. Yeah. That's important to understand, that there are boundaries, right? And when we talk about the firstborn and the duties and everything else, that is something that you don't need to apply in a culture where this is different, you know. But in a family constellation, regardless what culture, you work with it because it works, yeah, without any exemptions, because this is how it works. So
Yeah.
I make an example, and of course it is all based on real cases. No, there are two sons, let's say three sons, yeah, and the oldest son doesn't want to stay at home, and with 16 leave. Let's say it's in Europe, leave Germany, and embarks on a ship to New York, right? To make a living there, and he might be even successful. That's all good and well. But then the second one is probably dies early. Let's put it that way. Yeah, dies early, and now there's only the youngest left. Now the youngest is taking over the farm and looks after the parents, and although he always wanted to, let's say, become a sailor, now he has to stay there and look after the parents. Of course, these situations happen. Life is not like it wants everything to be in the orders of love. Life wants to be everything. It wants to be creative. It wants to discover every possibility and alteration of everything. So that's not the problem. The problem is not that this happens. The problem is that there is no balance. The balance is disturbed. Yeah, and we will learn that tomorrow, how we balance it out. The first one can go, and the youngest can inherit everything and look up. That's possible, but there need to be an exchange between the oldest and the youngest, so that the order is restored. Yeah, and this is often overlooked. And because this is not happening, and let's think this all happens in 1901, 4 generations before your client, yeah, and your client has MS, yeah, and in a family constellation, you see that he is connected with this one who was left, you know, the young one who was left behind, yeah, because there was no giving and taking between the youngest and the oldest brother. The older just left, yeah, and therefore caused this imbalance in the order in the family system through not obeying the second order of love, and also not the third, which you learn tomorrow. He hasn't balanced it out. Yeah. So whenever we're talking about the orders of love, that doesn't mean that in real life everybody needs to line up like this, otherwise they are not happy. That means everything can happen in life, because for everything we have a word or remedy that makes it okay, if you will. But these remedies are normally not applied. Some do that naturally, but most often not. And then we have this entanglement.
Are all the younger ones now that are taking care of their family, are they okay, or are they creating an entanglement because
they
they're
create
stuck?
an entanglement when they are not observing the next third order of love, which you learn tomorrow. Yeah.
Interesting.
So this is why I said to you, wait till you have the full picture, at least the first half year, until you talk about it, because you will be in trouble otherwise.
I feel like, oh my goodness, I'm about to start witnessing so many entanglements all around me, like occurring. That's going to be really to just,
yeah. But some will certainly, or have already, you know, it's not entangled. So entanglement is not what we think, what we entangled with. Entanglement is what we see in a family constellation, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Right, but
so that's a distinct difference.
thinking about seeing them being created, like witnessing new entanglements being
Yeah,
created.
yeah, yeah, and you will repeat. I mean, that will increasingly happen as more you know,
Right. That's what
as
I
more
just
you
got a
know, as
flip
more
chart,
you see in yourself and others. You see that.
right?
But then it is your spiritual journey to be relaxed about it and let things happen.
Right.
Because life doesn't want to whitewash everything. Yeah? That is not what life wants. Life wants to experience every single alternative or every single possibility of variation that it can possibly create, right? But if somebody comes, yourself or somebody as a client to you, and wants healing from that, then you know what to do, right? And everybody else is okay as well. Mhm. We have the special. We had also Suman talking about her sister as a special needs case. Yeah, I just want to put that in here. You see that in a constellation as well. When there is a special needs child or severe disease before a child is 7 years old, basically born with it or gets it really, really early, that is always, of course, an entanglement in the family system, right? Yeah, it cannot be something that the child has, you know, a child up to year 7 has no intent or conscience or possibility to do anything karmic that would cause this. Yeah, so it has to be either in family entanglement or past life. Now, talking about past life, I just pulled that in before. It's module 4, but the question always comes earlier. This is why I say that. In my experience, we are incarnating basically in our own family system repeatedly. Yeah, because that is the easiest way for the soul to enter the plane, and therefore it is quite common. So that also means that you don't need to know whether something was a past life occurrence or not, because most often a family constellation shows it anyhow, because the past life would be another family member. Yeah? So that makes it easier for us. I just want you to have that in the back of your mind. There are, of course, I do also past life regressions, and you will learn that as well, the way I do that. And it is sometimes handy in one-on-one consultation to do that. Quicker and more efficient than a family constellation, but it can actually come to the same result. And I, in my past life regressions, apply the orders of love, of course, to here, right? And that works also very good. Yeah. So there's a bit of a crossover. So when you have when we have a constellation, which we certainly will have with Suman and her sister, to see where she got that from, then and lift it also. Do you want to have children, Suman?
I do not.
You don't want children. That's also interesting. This can also change. We know, you never know. Right?
I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm 45, so
Yeah, I know.
Uh-oh, I think we lost her. Suman.
Oh, Suman, hi. That must be a very energetic topic.
Yes, I guess so, right?
Yeah, yeah.
There's no coincidence in this constellation business.
I think she will come through again. She will be back. Okay, that's
What
all I
did I
wanted. Yeah, she's back. Okay, hot topic. Okay, let's talk about grandparents. What I want to say briefly is that in family constellation, you often see that entanglement skips one generation. So you most likely see an entanglement between the client and the grandparent, and not so much the client to the father or mother. You most often see an entanglement between the father and the great-grandfather, and not the father and the grandfather. So if you're looking for the row or the pattern in a family system, it is most often easiest to skip, especially if you have not many representatives at hand, to skip a generation and only place the other generation there, represented by somebody, and see if this is sufficient.
Do you see more on one side, like it being more mother side, like
No.
if it's a girl, no? So it could be either side.
No, either side's completely even. Grandparents often play a role in the family constellation. Either they are supporting, like the ancestor, they can also come for support, yeah, or they are entangled, of course, that's the other. Or the third one is they can also sometimes, and that's not very often, but it happens, be a surrogate or a substitute in an interrupted movement for their own daughter or son. So to make it precise, there is a client who has an interrupted movement towards the mother, yeah? And you will learn about that, of course, all in module 4. And then the movement towards the mother cannot take place because the mother herself has a severe interrupted movement towards her mother, grandmother, that does not come to an end. Because not every constellation is like, it's not always happy end. So there's absolutely stuck energy and there's nothing moving, right? Then it is possible that the grandmother can let the love flow towards the grandchild and skipping the mother. Yeah. That's not the rule, but it is an exemption, but it happens. And this is the third role of a grandparent, to be a substitute for mother's or father's love in occasion. So that can happen. And if it happens, you will see that in the case when it happens, it's often quite clearly, and that is a pretty much the same movement as if it would be from the mother or the father. So I call that kind of what did I say? A substitute or surrogate? I don't know what is a good word for it. Yeah,
Surrogate.
both. Okay.
Work.
All right, and then we have the ancestors. There is no order in ancestors, if you will, unless you are putting the generations up. So when you put the generations up, yes, there is an order because 7 comes before 6, before 5, before 4. Yeah, but you can also work with the ancestors as a group or represented by one. No. So if you want to make it for yourself easier, you always start with 1 and see if that is leading anywhere. And if not, then you can always add the other generation. There can be, and there often are, entanglements within the ancestors, of course. And then you need the right order. Order 1 and order 2 and even order 3 applied in the ancestors. Of course, they will be then represented as individuals by individual representatives. But you're not always working in the generation 5 to 7 with entanglement. In fact, I come to the conclusion then when you start with this work and when you after the training and when you start, it is most unlikely that you will be led so far. It's quite unlikely. So it's more likely that you will work on the nuclei family, maybe the grandparents, maybe the great-grandparents, and that the ancestors only show up for support. Because you never get more than you can chew off. When you are connected to the morphogenetic field, then it is the case. If you let the ego mind go in the way, then you may chew off more than you can eat. But not if you're connected to the field. That's not going to happen. You will not get any cases that you cannot handle. And you will not get clients that need more deeper work. You will get exactly the clients that need exactly to start there where you start as well. So just trust in that. So the right place of an ancestor is behind, right? As in the second order of love, who comes first is always behind the one who comes next. and you would see that in family constellations in our workshops, because it always comes up when we have a row of interrupted movements. Let's say the mothers, let's just say 7 generations, this does happen. Then you would have 7 mothers there, and they would line up literally one after the other. 7, 6, 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, 1st generation, and then the 1st generation will face their mother, and the others would all stand behind. Like, and then you will learn that, but I just say that you have heard it before. You start not with the client, you start with the first mother. That's the 2nd order, so the 7th generation, with the movement, with the healing movement, and then it ripples down, and then everybody's repeating that until the client is it's the client's turn, not from the client up, because that would be again a disturbance of the 2nd order. Who comes first? So what do we have to say about patchwork families? It's pretty much the same as everything I told you today about the 2nd order of love. This is nothing else. The only new situation here is that we have to talk about former and new partners, and we have actually a very interesting parallel group who has for the first time 2 Muslim women in there, which I find fascinating. And we have discussed the patchwork family in multiple how do you call that again, where there are more wives, multiple wife families. How do you is that term?
Polygamy.
Polygamous. Yeah, in a legal open polygamous family. And it was really interesting to hear. So in the end,
so interesting.
It's very interesting. And I actually had already a constellation with one trainee. She's from Malaysia, who was the child of the 2nd wife, or who is the child of the 2nd wife of his father, of her father. We had a constellation. It was very interesting. So I come to the conclusion, although it kind of seems, oh my gosh, what are we doing here? It actually follows the normal orders of love. There's actually nothing special about it. And the normal orders of love is in partnerships is the first partner comes first, right? 2nd order of love, first partner comes first. So there's a first partner, and then there is a 2nd, and then there's 3rd, and then there's a 4th. That only changes when they have children. Because with children, they form a new family system. And then this family system is kind of in the focus. So this comes first. So let's make an example. There is a first partner, maybe a deep love and deep affection, but then something happens, and the man marries another woman, and they have children, right? They come then the new partner comes first before the old partner. Right? The old partner is still important, very important, but it's not first, it's 2nd. Now, let's say he has a secret parallel family going on, right? That's the 3rd wife. This comes third, right? But when he has children with this wife, now this family, even though it's not legal, if you will, comes first before the other family, right? In the orders of love. So what about then is, like in this example, when now this very obviously sexual active man has a 4th, let's say a maîtresse or a spouse, or not a spouse, a maîtresse or a girlfriend, yeah, without any children, she doesn't count to the family system. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's always, yes, the first partner, yes, although they have no children, came first, but not the later one, if they don't have children. So just memorize that. In patchwork families, that might play the role. All children, because they are half siblings, will be in the orders. If they are not blood related, they are not part of the family system. So if there's the woman has children, the man has children, they marry, that doesn't merge the family system at all. It has nothing to do with it. Only mutual children
So not
belong.
step. So you're just saying not stepchildren, just
No.
half siblings.
Just
Yeah,
half.
just half.
No
Yeah.
step one. Right? Unless there is a very exceptional case of destiny,
Right.
which I can barely think of how that
Yeah.
could happen between the siblings, how that could
Mhm.
happen.
Mhm.
So that is the rule, and I don't see any reason why that should not be in the polygamy family as well.
Mhm.
Mm? So that can be pretty much all applied.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The new partner comes before the previous ones when the child is born. I tell you that. So that's the other scenario. Let's say there is a first partner, and then the man leaves it, has a new partner, but she was already pregnant, and now there's a child born. Now she comes first, not the new partner, right?
Mhm.
So as soon as the new partner has a mutual child, of course, then it forms a new family system. Now, to make it even more complicated, what happened if the new partner and him, if they adopt a child?
Mhm.
What do you think?
Still no, because it's adopted.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's not their family system. So that wouldn't form a new preference. It would still be the first partner would still come first. Again, I'm just telling you that when you see in the family constellation, this constellation and in a patchwork family, and they are not, the representatives are not going to these places where you know would be the right order, then you know, something needs to apply here. Something is not abide in the orders of love. Yeah. The bond to the first partner is always greater than to the next. That says Bert Hellinger, and you might have actually experienced that in your own life as well. Yeah. Even if the love is less, right? Because it's first. It's just what it is. Yeah. It's just the first. No? To break the bond is often to feel good. You think about the personal conscience. Yeah. This is not so easy, even though if love is not there, the bond is quite strong right there. However, if there are children with a new partner, that's normally the way where the bond is then broken, because this family comes first, partner is second, and that is also easier than to let go of this first one. So now we have another half an hour which we spent in looking at orders in organization. It's totally different, the second order of love, the order of precedence in organizations. But when you do an organization constellation and you work with everything you learn here, and that will be all a wonderful constellation, you, in your mind, you know that in the end, you only see family members of your client. Because it is, he is working in this organization because it's perfectly reflecting his family system, unknowingly, of course, right? So there's this crossover that it's in the end everything is a family constellation, yeah. But your client doesn't need to know that because it works. It works like, let's say it's a workplace. It works for the client to release any burns from the workplace, and it will also, as a side effect, release the entanglement from the family system as well. So you don't need to name them father, mother, child, or grandchild, or ancestor. They can have the name of founder or colleague or customer or something like that. Yeah, they can have that, but they would you still only work with the family system. Remember, first order of love, you only work with family members. You call it family or organization constellation, that's totally fine, and it's actually preferable to do that when you work with professionals, but you know how it works. Yeah. Okay, So when we talk about the second order of love in organization, it doesn't go that easy that who was first, like who was born first, like show me all your birth certificates and then I show you the orders. It's not that simple, right? So first of all, it is the orders is divided into function and then time spent and then education and responsibilities. These are the parameters you need to know what is the order in a specific workplace. So what is the right order here? The founders or the shareholders or whoever has actually let the grounds for this organization always comes first. It's like the ancestor. They can be dead. It could be hundreds of years ago. It doesn't matter. Yeah, they are part. They are the ancestors. They are part of the constellation. They need to be there. They need to be represented as well. And then comes the next one in the orders of love is the administration. Comes before the production of the service. And that's quite an interesting fact because the organization is almost like the father securing that this organization can produce anything. Without the administration, nothing can happen, right? And that's, of course, more in larger organizations. In small organizations where you only have 2 people working is, of course, the order not quite so so easy to see. But in larger organizations, you can see that, yeah. And then you have the CEO or the director or whatever, or the president or whatever organization you look at, comes to the right of the administration. So it's the right means it comes before the administration, but it's part of it. So the CEO is part of the administration, but within the administration, there is also an order. And then there would be at the right. Yeah. And after this comes the people who are actually doing the work. That would be doctors, researchers, engineers, lawyers, whatever, whatever organization you look at. And then after that, of course, and that is not to be forgotten, comes the customers and the clients. Yeah. So within the group, the right order is the order of time spent. Now we have established the groups, yeah? You have the group of founders, you have the group of administration, including the CEO, then you have the group of the ones who are providing service or production, and then you have the clients or customers. Yeah? And within this group, there's also an order. And the order is time spent. Not education. Time spent comes first. Yeah. And that is almost as the birth order, so it's easy to remember. So let's look at the founders. If you have a group of founders, let's say 3, within this group of founders, there's also an order. Yeah. Who was there the longest? Let's say one of the founder worked in this company all their life. The other founder was working there for the first 10 years. And the third founder has never worked there. Yeah, just saying, just making something up. Then the first one comes first. Was in this organization working the longest, and the second, and then the third, right, in this group. And the administration is the same. Yeah, they are higher qualified. Let's say the administration has a legal department and an invoicing department. Of course, the legal department has a higher educational people than the invoicing or accounting department. But if there is a accountant all his life, 40 years, and the legal department has just founded 20 years ago, then this person, this member comes first. Yeah. And coming first means stands to the right. And so on. This is the same with the production, or if you have a law firm with who's the lawyer who was the longest comes first, and so on. Yeah, doesn't need to be the most successful, most powerful. Doesn't need to be anything like this, as long as it's a time spent. After that, so when you have like people who have spent the same time, right? That of course in larger organizations that happens. Yeah, then you go into education. So education comes then, who has a higher education. Now, to make a example, and that is often the case, and it's often causing problems in the organization to an extent that they can that cannot focus on the customers, but they spend 80% due to an article I've read a few years ago, 80% their time being busy with themselves and just 20% with the customer. That is because the second order is not obeyed, right? In multiple ways. Now that causes so many imbalances they need to be dealt with, that's where they spend their time, human resources and other times. Yeah, that's where they spend it. So let's say who was there first comes first, even if the new department leader has a higher education, right? So if you have, let's say, the law firm and there are lawyers, and now somebody comes with a PhD or an ex-professor from the law school, everybody knows, like a very high reputation. They took them years to acquire him, has a very high salary, right? And he comes into this group of lawyers, right? Definitely, he is not first because the one who spends the most time is first, yeah. But let's say the lawyers who were working there first, let's say there were 4 lawyers starting the law firm, right? And one of them is becoming a professor and the others not, then the higher education would come first within these group of people. And that's the order in organization. This is how you can deal with larger organizations. And then you can apply that to the customers and everything else. Yeah. A couple of things, and there's a podcast about and an article I wrote on the blog post, on the website, a blog post about consolidating organizations, and I explained that there in more detail. When you often have when the client's talking about their organization and how to consolidate them or what the problem is and blah, 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 they often forget either the customers or clients, they don't even mention them, or they forget the founders. You know, so that already shows you that's interesting. That's interesting information. In family constellation in general, the most interesting information is the ones you don't get. That's the one your ears are up here. Yeah, that's exactly the person, the individual, the family member that's not mentioned, that plays normally a big role, because they might be exactly the ones that are needed, because they have been dismissed or outcast or something, not put in the right place. So that's that, and I will demonstrate that with you on the board. But before I do that, I want you to prepare, or remember to prepare for tomorrow by having a photo of your partner handy. So either your partner or your ex-partner. If you have children, definitely the one that you have children with. If you don't have a partner, Zuman, do you have a partner at the moment?
I do.
Yeah, so that would be him then, probably.
Yes.
Unless you have another partner that you have an ex-partner that you feel a stronger bond to. Then you can also, that's your decision, wherever you want to. Whatever you want to bring to the table. Yeah,
Yeah, okay, right?
Okay.
That took a lot of therapy, Maya.
Not these ones. Okay, cool. All right, let me share my my figurine board. That's how I demonstrate it to you, how we work with in organizations.
Okay. Maya, are we allowed to take a picture of the screen?
Yes, of course you. As I said, screenshots are fine. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so here are my figurines. I use them in one-on-one sessions. And they are fantastic. I also will teach you how to do that in module 5. They are as talkative as the people in the workshop after a while. So is who's working? Suman, are you working in an organization?
No, I do consulting for organizations, but I'm
Do you
not
have
in.
Do we have an organization who has a problem?
Yes.
Okay, let's look at that.
Okay.
Okay. So talk about it. What kind of organization is it? Who's your client?
It's a primary mental health treatment program. They treat anxiety, mood, trauma.
Is this a public or a government organization?
It's public. It's a private organization, so mostly private pay.
Yep.
There's 5 founders, and they all have very different mentalities, and they all bring very different things to the table that create more chaos as opposed to
Who's your
synchronicity.
client? A founder?
The founder would be the client, yes.
So choose a figurine for your client.
Okay.
Here's my mouse.
I would use that one. Yeah.
That one.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and then the other 4 founders.
I would use the green one that's already in the corner. Yeah, that's fine. That one's good, yeah. And then I would use the yellow one that was right next to it. Yes. Then I would use the red one that is all the way to my right hand side. Yes. And then I would choose the white figurine that's all the way in the back in the middle. Yes.
All right, so client and the other 4 founders. Yeah.
Are the other 4 founders that you place them, are they on the right or left of the client?
We are not placing them yet. We're just choosing them.
Okay, you're just choosing them. You haven't placed them.
Yeah. And then who is next in this organization? So there is administration, of course.
There's administration.
How many
There's
people working there?
20.
Okay, so we're not placing them. So choose choose one representative for the administration.
I would use the pink one that's in the middle. Yeah.
Administration, and then we have. Do we have like a CEO there, or a director, or anybody leading the administration?
It's spread amongst the 5 people.
Ah, yeah. So one of the founders. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, and then we have the health workers.
Yeah. The purple one that's right in the front, the tiniest one.
Very good. And how many health workers are there?
There's probably about 22, 23.
Okay, and they are mainly like you, psychotherapists, or different?
Yes. Yeah. Mainly like me, but also with other healing modalities as well. So wellness, clinical, and medical.
Very good. And then, of course, we have the patients or customers, or how do you call them, clients?
They call them clients. They have anywhere between 40 at a time. And I would actually, that struck me right there. The one that yes.
Right. So let's ask Kimberly, is anybody missing?
Oh. I feel like there is, but I don't know who it is.
Okay. So remember, we just have placed that as placeholders because we don't want all the figurines on the board. And because you said your client is the founder and there is something going on between the founders, we will focus on them and see if there's anything else going on. I see also there's something going on, but we will not. We will just, this is a demonstration, so we just want to demonstrate. So now let's talk. Let's put them aside. Just remember that is the administration. These are the health workers, and this are the clients. Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
So now we want to place the founders. And you do that, Sumin, and you do that intuitively. You just, I place it for you, and you just tell me that feels right or wrong,
Okay.
starting with your client.
More to my left. So,
You have, so I'm sitting here, so
okay.
towards me or away from me? Oh,
Towards
actually,
you.
hang on. I have to swap that because you see that not the way I see it. So no.
Oh, perfect. It's perfect the way it is.
Yeah. So shall I stay there?
Yes, it's perfect there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you know when these founders have been? Were they all? Were a group? Was this a group?
Yeah, it was kind of sort of eclectically put together. However, there is some synchronicity. So if I was to place the next person to the right, it would be the green figurine.
To the right of your client. Okay.
And then I would put the yellow behind the green. And then I would put, I apologize, Maya. I think I would put the green behind. Is it possible to put the green behind the black?
Yeah.
I would do that.
Absolutely.
Then I would put the yellow to the right of the black. And then I would put the red behind the yellow. And then I would put the white to the right of the yellow.
Right. And you see that also as right? This is right.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. So now let's look at that. And then, of course, we also want to make sure they are facing the direction you want them to. So is your client facing forward? Where is it facing to?
My client is facing towards, if you can pivot it to where it's looking, almost has a view of all three, red, yellow, and green.
More?
More, a little bit more. A little bit more. Perfect.
The yellow?
The yellow, straight ahead. The red, I would probably do facing the black. And the green is perfect where it is.
And the white one?
And the white one is, the white one's looking forward.
Okay, and now we just, to complete that, we want to place them. So that's the administration. Where does it go?
Administration goes to the right of the white.
Looking where?
Looking the opposite way. So,
Turning
yeah.
around?
Yeah. Perfect.
Then we have the health workers.
The health workers is right to the pink, and it's actually looking towards the pink.
And then we have the clients.
The clients, I would actually put behind the white.
Facing where?
Facing the white's back. Yeah.
Like this. Okay. So now look at this from all sides. And now we have only 10 minutes left. We are not going in a full-fledged constellation here. Oh, that's always very telling. Always very telling. So we had the health workers falling from the board.
That actually makes perfect sense.
I don't think they are looked after very well.
They're not at all. That was a perfect, could not have done perfectly there.
That's what I said. That's a morphogenetic field. It also works on the figurines. That's absolutely no wonder. So let me put that away so I can move it better. So All right. So, what? Show me your. Tell me. Share with me your observations. Just what you think. What comes up? Looking at this group of people. But everything you have heard today and yesterday.
Give you my observations of this
Yeah.
itself.
Yeah. Just briefly, what comes to your mind? What is the first
So
thing that you observe?
it's so disorganized, and there's so much chaos, and there's no ability to pivot to have a 360 view. Everything is either 45 view, 90 angle view. There's no wholeness to it. It's all separated.
So definitely not structured in the orders of precedence.
Not at all.
No. And why is that? Because we want to learn from here. Who is at the very right?
The majority owner.
Right is over there.
Oh, I'm sorry. The clients. No, that was the administration.
The administration, the health workers fell off, so they wanted to be at the right, but then they have been kicked off. So we have the administration placed at the very right, which would mean that they come first, like first before even the founders. However, the figurine is looking away from everything. And not only is looking away, but you see that here it's looking also down. Right? So the administration is completely incapable of working properly in this organization.
Yes.
The administration is there is something going on. They demand too much from the administration, as if the administration should fix everything. The administration is completely overwhelmed by that, and is not nourished at all. And that's why this and you know, the role of the administration is come second after the founders is very important. This organization has great problems. Okay, so that's what we see here. Then the next thing we see is that the next person to the right, is from all the founders the smallest, which indicates also the less strong. Yeah.
Yes.
So somebody is putting themselves in the leading role of the founders who's not actually strong enough to do that. That's what you also see.
Yeah.
Your client looks at all these founders because he's the only one who wanted help. Obviously, he came to you. He looks at them, especially at the yellow one. Looks to the right, and then the green one. Who's the green one? He looks also to the right. Who's the green one?
So the black one is the majority owner. The other 4 owners have equal parts, but the green one has the longest relationship with the majority owner. He acts as the CFO. Without the black one, the green one wouldn't even exist in this organization.
And that's exactly how it looks like. Then if you look only at the black and green, yeah, then the green one stands to the right of the black. So this is in order.
Yes.
Yeah. So there is actually some order that we can see. The rest is in disorder.
Yeah. Very true.
So now we don't go through the constellation, of course, it's far too early, but I show you now how it would look like by the end of the constellation, that you know that you have achieved for your client some form of healing and release. Yeah. So it would look like the founder would be here with this on the right side, with this person on the right side. The others are minority shareholder or founders. They should be here, right?
Mm-hmm.
To the left.
Mm-hmm.
Then in front should be the administration looking forward. And it
Mhm.
shouldn't be a figurine that is small and looks down. So the figurine would be rather something like that.
Mm.
So in the course of the constellation, you would actually swap them out because they change the energy. That would be the administration. Then we would have the, what did we say? Who is the white one? The white one is the smallest and is on the left. Yeah.
Mhm.
Then we would have the health worker. They would be somewhere in front. Yeah.
Mhm.
They don't need to be
Mhm.
like this in front. They can be like this. And then I
Mhm.
just have to recover the other figurine. And then we would have the clients. And they would stand in front of everyone and looking towards them.
Mm.
And everybody would look at the client. So everyone would focus on the client, which is their job. And the client would look back and be very happy with what he sees.
Yes.
Yeah, he would see strength, organization, structure.
Mhm.
Yeah, this is how they can work. And they, as they are here, need to be the closest to the client because these are actually the health worker who are dealing with the client. Yeah.
Maya, would you at any point change the white founder to match, or it is as it is?
Possibly. So
Uh-huh.
in the course of the constellation, we might come to the conclusion to change the white one and put it here.
Mm.
That
See,
would be a result of the
when it was
constellation.
first lined up, I thought that green was actually the only one looking towards the client and the health worker. But that's not the case, Suman. Green
Mm-mm.
is not.
No,
Interesting.
not really, because
Yeah. Go ahead, Maya.
the green was looking at the other two founders.
Mhm.
Ah,
He couldn't see they were too tall.
I mean, this.
Nobody could really see the clients,
yeah.
and
And
this
the
is probably where they fell off immediately anyhow.
yeah, I'm out of here.
Yeah. So now this would be the right order, and this is what we would expect after you have done the work, more or less. I mean, I cannot assume, but this is a demonstration. So this is about, and also imagine these are real people in a workshop setting, of course. Yeah. And then you would ask the client, how do you feel? And then the client would feel, I feel really good. And you would also see that, of course, sigh of relief and things like this. And then you know this is restored, the order is restored.
Hmm.
Yeah. But this is a result of something you have done in the between in an hour or so that we haven't showed.
Yeah.
Right. This is of course not healing anything, just to put them like yeah. Just
The ideal situation too, Maya, just even looking at it, it's only been a few weeks, but the ideal situation would be that exact setup for
yeah.
how the founders should function with one another to
Yeah.
a T. Yeah.
They should be
Yeah.
side by side in the
Yeah.
right order and looking at everybody else. They are the
Mhm.
ones who have to have everyone in their view, and they are coming first, second, third, fourth, and they are standing behind as support. And if the client would look away, of course that's not a good sign.
Mhm.
Right? Or if the health workers wouldn't look at the client, but would look back at the organization, that's what you often see, right? That means they cannot
Mhm.
serve. They cannot serve. They need something from here. They need something from here.
Mhm.
And if you look back to this figurine, the original figurine of the administration, they cannot do anything because look, they look down.
Yeah.
Right? So they are obviously whatever there is, that's too much for them.
Mhm.
Too much weight, maybe too much responsibilities, maybe whatever. So that is where when you interview your client, when you see this representation, you will interview your client and ask, what's going on in the administration, you know,
Yeah.
or what's going on with this white one when she was small, right? What
Mhm.
happened there? And you will be astounded what stories you hear. Yeah. So
That's
when
a
you're
pretty
working,
cool demonstration.
yeah.
That was very visceral for me.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So when you're working with organizations, and I've worked with politicians, they want to look at their country or their party, or they have like bilateral contracts to sign with other countries. You can all of this can be worked with representatives with the morphogenetic field, and you always see you just apply the orders of love to the situation, yeah,
Yeah.
and something healing will take place, right? For example, this is always a figurine. So something's missing here, so I would put something there. I don't know, like something like this, right?
Hmm.
Because there's something going on
Mhm.
that we have to focus on, and then we are already, you can see that they're already representing family members anyhow,
Mhm.
but your client don't need to know that.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then you would want so and then when you do the healing movements here, then this would be the result that you see. Maybe the client says, I think I want to change this figurine to this one. You're not doing that. You may suggest it, but and basically the client says, yeah, want to do this one, and then and change this one to the larger one, and rearrange everything. That's kind of the movement that takes place after the healing has been
Yeah.
applied.
Nice.
Okay, right. So I leave you here with all of this, and you have a little bit of a homework for tomorrow, and then I see you for our third and last part of module 1.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Have a lovely evening. Good night.
I'm
You
assuming,
too.
can we exchange phone? Do you want to exchange phone numbers?
Oh, sure. Would you like
Yeah,
me to put it in
you
the
go.
chat really quickly or just say it?
Just say it. Just tell me.
310 384 2631. And then if you text me and then I'll send you my email.
Okay, I'll text you right
Yeah.
now.
It's wonderful. You can also practice with each other.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do stuff.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Maya.
Bye.
Bye. Have a lovely night.
You
Bye.
too. Bye.